Hello everyone. We've been trying to sort out some technology for the last half hour, and whilst we've been doing that, the sun looks as if it's going to come out, so that's a miracle. A few poems today. The first selection, the main selection, is really sharing poems from different parts of life, starting off with poems from childhood. A number of poets, from very famous 17th century poet right up to the current day. And I'm just going to wave to one of our visitors, one of our neighbours. Hello, enjoy your walk. The first of the poems is about school days, and it's called Scratches. My mother scratched the soles of my shoes to stop me slipping when I went away to school. I didn't think a few scratches with a pair of scissors was going to be enough. I was walking on ice, my arms stretched out. I didn't know where I was going. Her scratches soon disappeared when I started sliding down those polished corridors. I slid into class. I slid across the hall into the changing room, and I never slipped up. I learnt how to skate along with an aeroplane or a car, looking ordinary, pretending to have fun. I learnt how long a run I needed to carry me as far as the gym in time for assembly. I turned as I went, my arms stretched out to catch the door jamb as I went flying past. And now, another school day poem by Carol Ann Duffy, the former poet laureate. It's called In Mrs. Tilcher's Class. You could travel up the Blue Nile with your finger, tracing the route, while Mrs. Tilcher chanted the scenery. Tana, Ethiopia, Khartoum, Aswan. That for an hour, then a skittle of milk and the chalky pyramids rubbed into dust. A window opened with a long pole. The launch of a bell swung by a running child. This was better than home. Enthralling books, the classroom glowed like a sweet shop. Sugar paper, coloured shapes, Brady and Hindley faded like the faint uneasy smudge of a mistake. Mrs. Tilcher loved you. Some mornings you found she'd left a good gold star by your name. The scent of a pencil slowly, carefully shaved. A xylophone's nonsense heard from another form. Over the Easter term, the inky tadpoles changed from commas into exclamation marks. 3 frogs hopped in the playground, freed by a dunce, followed by a line of kids jumping and croaking away from the lunch queue. A rough boy told you how you were born. You kicked him, but stared at your parents, appalled, when you got back home. That feverish July, the air tasted of electricity. A tangible alarm made you always untidy, hot, fractious under the heavy, sexy sky. You asked her how you were born, and Mrs. Tilcher smiled, then turned away. Reports were handed out. You ran through the gates, impatient to be grown, as the sky split open into a thunderstorm. Now, the next poem is about a pleasure garden in France, in fact, near the south bank, or the left bank, in Paris, very famous Jardin du Luxembourg. And it's about children again, and it's about children on one of these roundabouts that you jump on and go round and round. It's called Jardin du Luxembourg. A merry-go-round of freshly painted horses sprung from a childish world, vividly brought before dispersing in adult oblivion and losing its quaint, legendary light, spins in the shadows of a burbling circus. Some draw toy coaches but remain upright. A roebuck flashes past, a fierce red lion, and every time an elephant ivory white. As if down in the forest of Fontainebleau, a little girl wrapped up in royal blue rides round on a unicorn. A valiant son hangs onto the lion with a frantic laugh, hot fists gripping the handles for dear life. Then that white elephant with ivory tusks. An intense scrum of scarves and rumpled socks, that the great whirligig is just for fun. The ring revolves until the time runs out, squealing excitedly to the final shout as pop-eyed children gasp there in their grey jackets and skirts, while bobble and berry. Now you can study faces, different types, the tiny features starting to take shape, with proud, heroic grins for the grown-ups, shining and blind as if from a mad scrape. Now I turn to page 99, see what delights that brings us. It brings us into the first hints of young love at a country dance. He has not wooed, but he has lost his heart. That country dance is a sore test for him. He thinks her cold, his hopes are faint and dim. But though with seeming mirth she takes her part in all the dances, and the laughter there, and though to many a youth on brief demand she gives a kind assent and courteous hand, she loves but him, for him is all her care. With jealous heed her lessening voice he hears down that long vista, where she seems to move among fond faces and relays of love and sweet occasion full of tender care. Down those long lines he watches from above, till, with the refluent dance, she reappears. This is another one of love, not quite as young as the previous, but I think very lovely, by Ben Okri, and it's called I Held You in the Square. And the book tells me that this was written in March 1986. I held you in the square and felt the evening reorder itself around your smile. The dreams I could never touch felt like your body. Your gentleness made the night soft. And even if we didn't know where we were going, nor what street to take or what bench to sit on, what chambers awaited that would deliver us our naked joy, I could feel in your spirit the restlessness for a journey whose beauty lies in the arriving moment of each desire. Holding you in the evening square, I sealed a dream with your smile as a secret pact. Now, this is a poem by another very famous poet, Louis MacNeice, the poet from the north of Ireland, and it's called Apple Blossom. The first blossom was the best blossom, for the child who had never seen an orchard, for the youth whom whiskey had led astray. The morning after was the first day. The first apple was the best apple for Adam before he heard the sentence, when the flaming sword endorsed the fall. The trees were his to plant for all. The first ocean was the best ocean, for the child from streets of doubt and litter, for the youth for whom the skies unfurled. His first love was his first world. But the first verdict seemed the worst verdict, when Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden. Yet, when the bitter gates clanged to, the sky beyond was just as blue. For the next ocean is the first ocean, and the last ocean is the first ocean. And however often the sun may rise, a new thing dawns upon our skies. For the last blossom is the first blossom, and the first blossom is the best blossom. And when from Eden we take our way, the morning after is the first day. Now, this is going back a long time. This poet was born a year before the Glorious Revolution. He was born in 1688. He's one of our most famous, Alexander Pope. And in this, from one of his first famous poems, an essay on criticism, the scene is set, really, by the first line. And the first line has become a very famous line in English literature. So here it is. A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep, or taste not the Pierian spring. Their shallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking largely sobers us again. Furred at first sight with what the muse imparts, in fearless youth we tempt the height of arts, while from the bounded level of our mind short views we take, nor see the lengths behind. But more advanced, behold with strange surprise new distant scenes of endless science rise. So pleased at first the towering Alps we try, mount o'er the vales and seem to tread the sky. The eternal snows appear already past, and the first clouds and mountains seem the last. But those attained, we tremble to survey the growing labours of the lengthened way. The increasing prospect tires our wandering eyes. Hills peep over hills, and Alps on Alps arise. We're now going to have the last of this set of poems, and then there will be a final and very different poem to finish upon. This is a poem by another famous and recent poet, very famous 20th century poet, called Philip Larkin. And it's called Toads. And in this, he likens work, everyday work, to a toad. Why should I let the toad work squat on my life? Can't I use my wit as a pitchfork and drive the brute off? 6 days of the week it soils with its sickening poison, just for paying a few bills. That's out of proportion. Lots of folk live on their wits. Lecturers, lispers, losels, lobberly men, louts. They don't end as paupers. Lots of folk live up lanes with fires in a bucket, eat windfalls and tin sardines. They seem to like it. Their nippers have got bare feet. Their unspeakable wives are as skinny as whippets. And yet no one actually starves. Oh, were I courageous enough to shout, "Stuff your pension!" But I know all too well that's the stuff that dreams are made on. For something sufficiently toad-like squats in me too. Its hunkers are heavy as hard luck and cold as snow, and will never allow me to blarney my way to getting the fame and the girl and the money all at one sitting. I don't say one body's the other, one spiritual truth, but I do say it's hard to lose either when you have both. So now we're going to change anthology, and I'm going to read one more. And that is a poem by A. Milne. It's one of the longer of his poems, and there's a lesson in it which he wants to teach us. It's very much up to date, actually, because it's really a poem about body image. And it's called Teddy Bear. A bear, however hard he tries, grows tubby without exercise. Our teddy bear is short and fat, which is not to be wondered at. He gets what exercise he can by falling off the ottoman, but generally seems to lack the energy to clamber back. Now, tubbiness is just the thing which gets a fellow wondering, and Teddy worried lots about the fact that he was rather stout. He thought, if only I were thin, but how does anyone begin? He thought, it really isn't fair to grudge me exercise and air. For many weeks he pressed in vain his nose against the window pane, and envied those who walked about reducing their unwanted stout. None of the people, he could say, is quite, he said, as fat as me. Then, with a still more moving sigh, I mean as fat as I. Now Teddy, as was only right, slept in the ottoman at night, and with him crowded in as well more animals than I can tell. Not only these, but books and things, such as a kind relation brings, old tales of once upon a time, and history retelled in rhyme. One night it happened that he took a peep at an old picture book, wherein he came across by chance the picture of a king of France, a stoutish man, and down below these words, King Louis so-and-so, nicknamed the Handsome. There he sat, and think of it, the man was fat. Our bear rejoiced like anything to read about this famous king, nicknamed the Handsome. There he sat, and certainly the man was fat. Nicknamed the Handsome. Not a doubt, the man was definitely stout. Why then, a bear, for all his tub, might yet be named the Handsome Cub. Might yet be named. Or did he mean that years ago he might have been? For now he felt a slight misgiving Is Louis so-and-so still living? Fashions in beauty have a way of altering from day to day. Is handsome Louis with us yet? Unfortunately, I forget. Next morning, nose to window pane, the doubt occurred to him again. One question hammered in his head: is he alive or is he dead? Thus, nose to pane, he pondered. But the lattice window, loosely shut, swung open. With one startled "ho!" our Teddy disappeared below. There happened to be passing by a plump man with a twinkling eye, who, seeing Teddy in the street, raised him politely to his feet, and murmured kindly in his ear soft words of comfort and of cheer. "Well, well, allow me, not at all. Tut, tut. Oh, a very nasty fall." Our Teddy answered not a word. It's doubtful if he even heard. Our bear could only look and look. The stout man in the picture book. That handsome king, could this be he, this man of adiposity? Impossible, he thought. But still, no harm in asking. Yes, I will. "Are you," he said, "by any chance His Majesty the King of France?" The other answered, "Oh, I am that," bowed stiffly and removed his hat, then said, "Excuse me," with an air, "but is it Mr. Edward Bear?" And Teddy, bending very low, replied politely, "Even so." They stood beneath the window there, the King and Mr. Edward Bear, and handsome, if a trifle fat, talked carelessly of this and that. Then said His Majesty, "Well, well, I must get on," and rang the bell. "Your bear, I think," he smiled. "Good day," and turned and went upon his way. A bear, however hard he tries, grows tubby without exercise. Our teddy bear is short and fat, which is not to be wondered at. But do you think it worries him to know that he is far from slim? No, just the other way about. He's proud of being short and stout. I hope to enjoy those. I'm sorry the sun's gone in, but such is the way of life at the moment. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.